Have you ever wondered why some women effortlessly capture a man's attention while others struggle to keep it? Why do some men chase relentlessly while others fade away? It's not about being the most beautiful, the most available, or even the most giving. It's about understanding what truly makes someone addicted to your presence. Let's talk about what really keeps a man coming back, not just for a moment, but for a lifetime. Think about the most exciting moments in life. Are they the ones that came too easily, or the ones that felt like a journey, a challenge, an adventure? A man doesn't crave something that lands effortlessly in his lap. He craves what he has to earn. When a woman has a life, a purpose, and standards, she becomes a puzzle worth solving, a journey worth taking. Here's a paradox that many misunderstand. A man stays when he feels both safe and excited. If he only feels safe, the relationship may become predictable. If he only feels excited, he may see you as a temporary thrill. The key is creating a space where he feels understood and supported, yet always intrigued by the next moment with you. Men don't fall in love with women who do everything for them. They fall in love with women who expect the best from them. When you respect yourself enough to set high standards, you don't have to convince anyone to stay. They stay because they know your worth. A man will chase what he knows is rare. There's a fine line between making a man feel valued and making him feel like he's your source of happiness. Appreciation makes a man feel special. Neediness makes him feel trapped. A woman who appreciates rather than depends creates an environment where he wants to show up more. A relationship isn't a destination, it's a journey. A man becomes addicted to a woman who constantly evolves, who surprises him, who makes him feel like every chapter with her is worth turning the page. When he sees that being with you means becoming a better version of himself, he won't want to leave. What people invest in, they value. A man who has to put in effort, emotionally, mentally, and physically, will naturally feel more attached. The more he invests, the more he sees you as part of his identity. Encourage him to contribute, not just receive, and watch how deeply he commits. There's something undeniably magnetic about the things we can't immediately have. It's why people chase success, why they invest years into building careers, why they travel to the farthest corners of the world in search of adventure. The moment something is handed to us without effort, without a journey, without the thrill of pursuit, its value begins to diminish in our minds. And this principle applies just as much to attraction and relationships as it does to every other aspect of life. When a man meets a woman, his mind is naturally wired to assess the level of effort required to win her attention. If she is immediately available, constantly reachable, always eager to please, his brain registers her as a certainty. And certainty, while comforting, does not create the same level of emotional investment as something that feels earned. The reality is, people appreciate and cherish what they've worked for far more than what was simply handed to them. This is not about playing games or being manipulative. It's about understanding the psychology of human nature. Think about the most exciting moments in your life. Were they the moments that came effortlessly, or were they the ones that required patience, effort, and perseverance? The rush of anticipation, the build-up of emotions, the challenge of the unknown. These are the very things that keep people engaged. A woman who embodies intrigue doesn't reveal everything about herself all at once. She understands the power of leaving a little mystery, of letting someone want to learn more, rather than feeling like they already know everything from day one. When a man is drawn to a woman, part of what fuels that attraction is the discovery process, the feeling that there is more to uncover, more layers to explore, more depth to experience. Challenge plays an equally critical role. When something feels earned, it holds more value. A man who has to put in effort to gain a woman's attention and affection is far more likely to cherish and respect her than if she was simply waiting for him, requiring nothing in return. The challenge isn't about being difficult or withholding affection. It's about having standards, maintaining a strong sense of self, and making it clear that access to your time, energy, and emotions is something that must be valued. Many women fall into the trap of thinking that by making things easy, by always being available, by never setting boundaries, they will make a man love them more. In reality, the opposite happens. When a woman removes the challenge, she removes the thrill. There is no longer anything to earn, No excitement of the pursuit, no deeper investment required. The women who leave the strongest impressions are the ones who balance warmth with unpredictability, openness with a sense of self-sufficiency, affection with high standards. They do not chase. They do not over-explain. They do not mold themselves into whatever they think a man wants. Instead, they hold firm in their identity, allowing him to rise to the occasion if he wants to be part of their world. There is a fine line between making yourself completely unavailable and creating the right amount of intrigue. If you push someone away too much, they may lose interest altogether. But if you give too much too soon, you risk losing their investment. The secret lies in maintaining a life outside of the relationship, in being genuinely busy with your own passions, friendships, and goals. A man who senses that a woman's world does not revolve around him is far more likely to be intrigued. He sees her as someone worth pursuing because she is not seeking validation from him. She is not trying to impress him. She is simply living her life in a way that is attractive and compelling. And in doing so, she naturally pulls him in, making him want to be part of her journey. When it comes to relationships, many people assume that attraction alone is enough to keep someone invested, but physical attraction, as powerful as it may be, is fleeting. What truly makes a man stay, what makes him addicted to your presence, is the perfect balance between emotional safety and excitement. Too much of one without the other, and the dynamic starts to break down. Imagine a relationship where a man feels completely safe. He knows his partner is reliable, kind, and always there for him. There is no fear of judgment, no games being played, no uncertainty about whether she will support him in his toughest moments. This level of emotional security is powerful because it allows him to lower his guard, to open up, to feel like he has a genuine partner in life. However, if this safety comes without excitement, the relationship begins to feel predictable. Predictability is comfortable, but it is not stimulating. It does not spark passion, nor does it create the kind of emotional highs that make love feel intoxicating. Now let's consider the opposite. Imagine a relationship that is full of thrill, unpredictable dates, passionate moments, deep chemistry. A man is drawn in by the intensity, the spontaneity, the feeling of being on an emotional roller coaster. This is the kind of relationship that creates unforgettable memories. But if there is no emotional safety, it can also create deep insecurities. He may constantly wonder where he stands, whether he is truly valued, or whether everything could disappear in an instant. Excitement alone can keep someone coming back for a while, but without a foundation of emotional security, it eventually leads to exhaustion rather than devotion. The key to making a man emotionally addicted to you is finding the sweet spot between these two extremes. He needs to feel that he can rely on you emotionally, that you are someone he can trust, someone who truly understands him. But at the same time, he also needs to feel that you bring excitement into his life, that you challenge him, that he never quite knows what wonderful moment might come next. Emotional safety does not mean being boring or predictable. It means being a person he can be vulnerable with. A man will stay where he feels he can be his authentic self without fear of judgment. Many men live in a world where they are expected to be strong, to have everything together, to never show weakness. The woman who gives him permission to express himself freely, who listens without trying to fix him, who makes him feel understood rather than criticized, that is the woman he will never want to lose. But emotional safety alone is not enough. The relationships that feel the most fulfilling are the ones that continue to evolve. A man doesn't just want to feel safe with a woman, he wants to feel alive with her, alive with the woman who keeps him intrigued, who surprises him with new experiences, who continuously grows as a person. She keeps his attention because there is always something new to discover. This doesn't mean playing games or being unpredictable for the sake of it. It means maintaining your own passions, continuing to be the person he first fell for, and refusing to let the relationship become stagnant. A woman who balances emotional depth with a sense of adventure creates an irreplaceable connection. When a man feels both at home with you and electrified by your presence, he isn't just staying out of comfort. He is staying because he cannot imagine his life without you. There is nothing more magnetic than a woman who truly values herself, not just on the surface, not just in the way she presents herself to the world, but in the way she carries herself, the way she sets boundaries, and the way she demands respect without ever having to ask for it. Confidence is not about arrogance or superiority. It is about knowing your worth so deeply that you refuse to settle for anything less than what you deserve. Many women are taught, either directly or indirectly, that in order to keep a man interested, they must prove themselves worthy of his attention. They believe that if they give more, compromise more, or become exactly what he wants, they will be loved and cherished. But the truth is, the moment a woman starts chasing love, whether through over-giving, over-explaining, or tolerating behavior that does not align with her values, she unknowingly lowers her own value in his eyes. Men, like all people, are drawn to what is rare and valuable. And nothing is more valuable than a woman who holds herself to a high standard, not just in how she expects to be treated, but in how she treats herself. A woman with self-respect does not need to beg for attention, nor does she need to prove her worth. She understands that her time, her energy, and her love are gifts, and she does not offer them freely to those who do not deserve them. High standards do not mean being unreasonable or demanding. They mean having a clear sense of what is and isn't acceptable. They mean knowing that love should never require sacrificing self-respect. They mean recognizing red flags early and walking away from situations that do not serve her, rather than clinging to potential or hoping that someone will change. A man may be initially attracted to beauty, but what keeps him hooked, what makes him respect, admire, and want to commit is a woman's ability to stand firm in her values. When a woman values herself, she does not settle for breadcrumbs. She does not tolerate inconsistency. She does not lower her standards just to keep someone in her life. Instead, she understands that the right man will rise to meet her, and anyone who does not is simply not the right fit. This level of self-respect also creates a natural air of confidence. Confidence is not about constantly seeking validation or trying to impress. It is about knowing without a doubt that you are enough exactly as you are. It is about walking into a room and not needing to be the loudest, the most noticeable, or the most agreeable to feel secure. A confident woman does not fear being alone because she knows that being with the wrong person is far lonelier than standing in her own power. When a woman operates from this mindset, she automatically commands respect. She does not need to manipulate, beg, or play games to gain devotion, because devotion naturally follows where respect is present. Men are deeply drawn to women who respect themselves because those women create an environment where respect is required. When a man knows that he cannot get away with half-hearted effort, broken promises, or empty words, he steps up his game. If he is serious about her, he will do what it takes to meet her standards. If he is not, he will walk away, and that is exactly how it should be. A woman with self-respect does not fear losing a man who cannot meet her where she stands. She does not shrink herself to fit into a space that is too small for her. She does not compromise her values for temporary attention. Instead, she moves through life with an unshakable belief in her own worth, and in doing so, she attracts not just interest, but true, lasting devotion. Lasting devotion. There is a fine line between making someone feel valued and making them feel responsible for your happiness. That line is the difference between appreciation and neediness. A man, like any person, thrives in an environment where he feels appreciated. He wants to know that his efforts, whether big or small, do not go unnoticed. He wants to feel like he is making a meaningful impact on your life, that what he brings to the table is recognized and valued. What was once fulfilling now starts to feel like a weight. Neediness is not simply about wanting attention or affection. It is about placing your sense of security, happiness, and self-worth in the hands of another person. It manifests as an excessive dependence on validation, constant reassurance, or an inability to be content without someone else's presence. The problem with neediness is not just that it feels overwhelming to the other person, but that it ultimately makes you less attractive. A person who constantly needs to be reassured, who requires someone else's presence to feel whole, loses the very essence of what makes them desirable in the first place: independence and self-sufficiency. Appreciation, on the other hand, is powerful because it comes from a place of confidence rather than insecurity. It does not ask, "Do you love me?" over and over again. Instead, it simply acknowledges, "I see what you do and I value it." This distinction may seem small, but it makes all the difference. When a woman shows appreciation, she makes a man feel good about who he is, rather than putting pressure on him to complete her. She compliments his actions not out of a need for reciprocation, but because she genuinely sees and values them. She does not demand his presence, she enjoys it. She does not beg for his time, she welcomes it. The result? He wants to be around her more because her energy feels like a gift, not a responsibility. Neediness, however, operates from fear. It says, if you don't give me attention, I will feel unloved. It creates pressure rather than attraction. A man who feels pressured to prove his love over and over again will eventually feel drained rather than inspired. He may pull away, not because he does not care, but because the relationship has begun to feel more like a duty than a choice. A woman who understands the art of appreciation communicates her feelings in a way that builds connection rather than creating pressure. She does not text 10 times in a row demanding a response. Instead, she allows space for attraction to build naturally. She does not question his every move, seeking constant reassurance. Instead, she trusts in the bond that has already been established. Best. She does not cling. She simply creates an environment where he wants to stay. This balance is what keeps a relationship strong. When a man feels genuinely appreciated, he wants to do more. When he feels needed in a healthy way, not as a crutch, but as a valued presence, he feels a sense of purpose within the relationship. But the moment he feels that he has to be there, that the relationship will fall apart without his constant attention, it starts to lose its joy. A confident woman knows that her happiness does not come from another person. It comes from within. When she expresses appreciation, it is because she wants to, not because she needs to. And that difference is what keeps a man drawn to her, not out of obligation, but out of deep, genuine desire. A relationship is not meant to be a stagnant thing. It is a living, breathing entity that must grow and evolve over time. The moment it stops evolving, it starts decaying, and nothing makes a man lose interest faster than a relationship that feels predictable in all the wrong ways. Predictability, in the sense of trust and reliability, is a great thing. A man should know that he can count on you, that your presence in his life is not fleeting or conditional. But when predictability turns into routine, when every conversation feels the same, when every interaction follows the same script, when there are no new layers to uncover, the excitement starts to fade. A man stays hooked when he feels that being with you is a journey, not a destination. He does not want to feel like he has figured you out completely within a few months. He wants to know that there will always be new things to discover, new aspects of you to appreciate, and new ways for both of you to grow together. This is where unpredictability becomes powerful. Not in the form of emotional games or inconsistent behavior. That kind of unpredictability creates insecurity, not attraction. Instead, the kind of unpredictability that keeps a man invested is the one that comes from a woman who is always evolving, always learning, always bringing something fresh to the relationship. A woman who continuously grows, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, creates a dynamic that is impossible to get bored of. She is always introducing new experiences, sharing new ideas, and keeping life interesting. She has her own passions, her own aspirations, and her own path, and she invites him to grow alongside her rather than expecting him to be her entire world. A relationship that fosters personal growth is one where both partners challenge each other in the best way possible. A man does not just want a partner, he wants someone who elevates him, someone who pushes him to think bigger, to step outside of his comfort zone, to become a better version of himself. And the only way to do that is to be on that journey yourself. This does not mean constantly seeking external validation or changing yourself to keep someone interested. It means committing to your own growth and letting that naturally reflect in the relationship. It means being curious, being adventurous, and refusing to settle into monotony. A woman who continues to learn, explore, and evolve becomes a source of endless fascination. Unpredictability also comes in the form of spontaneity, surprising him in small, meaningful ways. It could be as simple as suggesting a spontaneous weekend trip, introducing him to a new book or concept, or even shifting the way you approach conversations. Instead of defaulting to routine, you bring an element of excitement and freshness that keeps the relationship from feeling repetitive. Men are drawn to excitement not just in the form of external activities, but in the way a woman thinks and experiences life. A woman who is passionate about her own journey, who has her own ambitions, who explores new interests, who remains open to new experiences, creates an energy that is contagious. When a man knows that being with you means continuous discovery, when he sees that you are someone who does not just settle into comfort, but constantly strives to expand and evolve, he stays hooked. Because he realizes that a relationship with you will never be something he takes for granted. It will always be an adventure, always be an opportunity for both of you to grow into something greater together. There's a fundamental truth about human nature. We value what we invest in. The more effort we put into something, whether it's a career, a project, or a relationship, the more attached we become to it. This is why one of the most powerful ways to create lasting emotional connection with a man is by encouraging him to invest in the relationship. Many women make the mistake of thinking that giving more, being more available, more accommodating, more self-sacrificing, will make a man appreciate them. But in reality, the opposite is true. When you are the one constantly doing all the work, initiating plans, checking in first, making things easier for him, you are making the investment. And while that may seem like an act of love, it often leads to an unbalanced dynamic where he takes what's given but does not truly value it. A man values what he earns. He values what he has to work for, what he has to put effort into, and what he has to nurture. This does not mean playing games or making him chase in an artificial way. It simply means creating an environment where he has the space and the desire to invest in you emotionally, mentally, and even physically. Encouraging a man to invest starts with resisting the urge to overgive. When you constantly anticipate his needs, always adjust your schedule for him, or do things that make his life easier at the expense of your own, you are removing his need to step up. Instead, allow the relationship to be a two-way street. Let him contribute, let him show effort, and let him feel the reward of doing so. One way to do this is by making sure you are not always the one initiating. If you find yourself being the first to text every time, the one planning every date, or the one always reaching out to check in, take a step back. Give him the opportunity to miss you. Give him the space to wonder what you are up to. When a man has to put in effort, even in small ways, whether it's reaching out, planning a date, or making sure he keeps your interest, he becomes more emotionally engaged. Another key to making him invest is to create meaningful moments that require his involvement. Rather than simply being an observer in the relationship, encourage him to take an active role. Ask for his advice on something important. Get his input on a decision. Invite him to be part of something meaningful to you. When a man feels like he is not just in your life, but contributing to it, his emotional attachment deepens. Investment is also about emotional vulnerability. A man feels more connected to a woman when he has shared parts of himself with her, his fears, his dreams, his past experiences. Instead of always being the one to open up first, create an environment where he feels comfortable sharing. Listen deeply. Be present. Make it clear that his thoughts and feelings matter to you. When he feels emotionally safe, he invests more of himself into the relationship, making it harder for him to walk away. It is also important to acknowledge his efforts. When he does something thoughtful, recognize it. Appreciation reinforces behavior. If he makes an effort to plan something special or open up emotionally, a simple "I really love how you did that," or "I appreciate you for that," goes a long way in making him want to continue investing. A man who invests in a relationship, who puts in effort, and who contributes emotionally and mentally feels a stronger ownership over it. He is not just in the relationship, he is committed to it. And that commitment is what keeps the connection strong, deep, and long-lasting. How attraction is not just about the initial spark, it is about creating a deep, emotional connection that keeps a man invested in you for the long haul. When you understand the key elements that make a man truly addicted to you, you shift the dynamic from chasing love to effortlessly drawing it in. A man stays hooked when he feels both safe and excited in your presence. When he knows he can trust you emotionally, but also feels the thrill of yells or feels the thrill of unpredictability and growth. He becomes deeply attached when he recognizes that being with you is not just about comfort, but about becoming a better version of himself. The power of self-respect and high standards cannot be overstated. A woman who values herself does not need to beg for love. She commands it naturally. She understands that her worth is not determined by how much she gives, but by the balance she maintains between giving and receiving. Appreciation strengthens a connection, but neediness weakens it. See you. When a man feels valued rather than obligated, he wants to be around you more. When he is given the opportunity to invest in the relationship, mentally, emotionally, and physically, he values it on a deeper level. The more effort he puts in, the more attached he becomes. And above all, relationships thrive when they continue to evolve. A woman who embraces growth, who remains curious, passionate, and ever evolving, creates a relationship that never becomes stale. She keeps the mystery alive, not by playing games, but by continually expanding as a person. This is what keeps a man addicted to you, not through manipulation, not through chasing, but through the irresistible energy of a woman who knows her worth, who invites him into an adventure, and who makes him want to stay, not because he has to, but because he cannot imagine life without her.